All right. I need to, at this time, introduce Daniel Scott. He is the 5th artistic director of the Planet Earth Poetry Reading Series in Victoria, and he has done so since January 2016. His works include Gnarled Love, Terrains, Random Excess, and most recently Aftertime with Ecstasis Editions, as well as Black Onion, 2 chapbooks, Street Sign and Interrupted with Goldfinch Press. And he's been doing books and chapbooks since 1983. And he has had numerous academic publications, and with Shannon McFerrin, the Girls Diary Project, University of Victoria, 2013. So in 2020, Ecstasis is going to be releasing Voicing Suicide. It's an anthology of suicide poems. He has edited with Australian scholar, Dr. Katrina Jaworski. And he has chapbook Cliches Undone, Volume 1 in production with Nose In Book Publishing. I love that name. There's so much to love about Daniel, and you can find out much more about him at www.danielgscott.com. And without any further ado, welcome, Daniel.
Thanks very much, Jackie. And thanks, Ian. It's great fun. I envy your capacity to combine satire and irony. Beautifully done. And thanks everyone for showing up. I'm going to read primarily from my new book, Aftertime. But I want to start off with a little bit of fun. Aftertime explores time, retirement, and death. So it's not the cheeriest of books. So I thought I'd start off with something a little lighthearted. I don't know how many of you have heard of Ismo. He's a Finnish comedian. And this is a riff on Ismo. ISMO if you want to look him up. And this poem is called Two Bees. It's obviously borrows a little bit from Shakespeare and several other places as well. Two bees. To say be or not say be, that is a question troubling the English language, where unsaid letters appear on the page, yet never on the lips. It is not a dumb matter. The tongue lingers in doubt, or is it doubt? As speech uncoils, leaves the mind numb. Perhaps it begins when a toddler learning to speak also sucks their thumb, and the bee gets sucked off, leaving us with thumb. That rhymes with rum, but not rumba, where the bee has to be without a doubt. And don't forget the confusing pair beginning with B and sounding the same. Bomb and bomb, or better bomb, because it blows things up, while the other bomb is meant to soothe and has a silent L, balm. Oh, English, nevertheless, I need to confess, for I'm in debt to a Finnish comedian where Finnish has 2 N's, one not said, who pointed out the B's left out like the W in 2, the number, and the W not in 1 when 1 is a number, and not the prize you get. Doubtless there are more, but I'll leave it at that, having tickled you with language crumbs. So, Aftertime. I discovered thinking about this at some point that I've been thinking about and writing about time for a long time. And the initial poem, which is called A Scone of Time, is based on the cover image, which is a painting one of my daughters did, Jenny Baker. I don't know how all these days got rolled up into dough that blossomed in my kitchen, baked in a brick oven, blue flame hissing, weeks swelling like bread. And I don't know if the days are from the past, finished and milled to dust, or from the future, caught out of time to sit on the cooling rack, golden brown, speckled with cranberry blood drops and orange rind ground off the sun, beside a cookbook open to Mrs. McKim's buttermilk biscuits. next to a few shards of calendar, the inner workings of a wall clock scattered around a stainless mixing bowl, spoons, spatula, and a diary with all its pages missing, but the lock intact. Next, a little poem called Opening Time. And this begins with an epigraph from a woman in St. John, New Brunswick, whose name was Marguerite Morrissey, who, interesting enough, was born in New Brunswick in a little place called Appahock in the late 19th century. 1892, I think she was born. Anyhow, she said, and I quote, "It's time," she said in her 95th year, "to be moving on. I'm tired of the same chairs, the same furniture, walls. Too many containers, lids tight, sealed. Us inside, boxes with insides only. Let us invert the world. Break out into through, where from here to there is, and time is no more. Where in the density of dark matter filling the universe, everything is close, far away, nearby. Where eternity, past death, may be merely other, merely all that cannot be imagined. Solid walls, corners, surfaces deny us access. Might walls open like doors? Oh, let them soften, become passageways for portals out of time, for moving on. Late fugue. It's never too late to start, too late to try to start. She always said in the sweetest way, it's better late than never, in the sweetest way than never. Too late, he replied, in the sweetest way, too late to start, too late to start. Time has gone on without you. It's late for you to start. Too late to try, she cried. Too late, he said, too late. I tried, she cried, I tried. Yes, he sighed, you tried. But late, he said, too late to try, to wait, to start, to try, to wait, too late. It is weird reading online and having all the faces and no noise. It's the strangest experience, right? The second section of the book shifts towards the business of retirement. It begins with this very short poem called Slowed. In summer, time goes torpid. Days yawn across the sky. I look at my watch, wound tight. A little noise, thank you, that's helpful. So I retired a few years ago, and there's a little poem called Retirement Tango. You hear the music deep down, telling you, time to dance toward the door. You know you can't look back, either of you. Your partner must follow your lead. The music is hot. The crowd has gathered to watch, to say goodbye, wish you on your way. You have to keep your feet moving, turn, shift, lift, turn. Let the story sing, the laughter shuffle you to the exit. The last dance leaves you gasping outside in the cool air. The night opens. Sweet time. Sweet time has come my way. Slow honey coats days in indolence, softens the pace. Morning hours buttered, cinnamon sprinkle added. Chamomile tea for calm, for warmth. As winter comes, for it will. There is no escaping how life moves on, for it will. The languid hours passing into decades, an evening, as sure as the grave. Which is a segue to In a Queue. It is necessary to talk about death. We are at that stage, two older men, our friends dying in a line at a wake. We say our sorries, wonder when our turn will come. We stand in a queue, know we are becoming invisible a bit at a time, shrink in unlikely places, at home, at the office. Parts of us no longer show up. Rooms left open in the world, the familiar becomes cratered. Spaces accumulate. We're in them and not there. We occupy emptiness and it stays empty. And for those of you who are of more advanced years, this poem will have some familiarity. It takes longer to tie my shoes. Odd how life speeds up as I slow down. Days never last. I wonder, and then it is Thursday again. I don't remember Monday. Yesterday, it seemed further away. I forgot what I did. What was I going to do? Sometimes when you go to poetry writing retreats and workshops, you're given an assignment. This one was write about needles. And I had a memory of learning to ride my bike and crashing into a blue spruce, looking over my shoulder to make sure everyone was watching me successfully ride my bike. And it turned into this very different poem called Needles. The first time he soloed on his bike, he rode into a blue spruce, scratched limbs, looked back to see if he was watched. Always the wonder if he was seen, believes he never was or known, like glass to be looked through. Needle tracks on his arms help him forget what he cannot remember. No, that's another too bleak a poem. I'll pick something else here. This is an older poem based on a trip to New York City in a hot summer day when we got, there was some kind of a traffic accident on the freeway and we got detoured through some part of New Jersey and had a car breakdown. Anyhow, that's the seed bed for this poem. And it's entitled, How After Surgery It's Not the Same. After the bitch comes out of Chico's garage to lick the vomit at his feet off the hot cement, her teats dragging, after the detour into New Jersey's suburbs, sun scorch on his back, the cracked radiator half repaired, he could not say a thing. Rage. You're too heavy on me, she says, pushing his body off, her chest and thighs. It's the heat. Their skins stick. I wanted it to last, he said. How long does it take a trickle of water falling on stone to drum its way through? He fingers the scar on his chest, tries to recall the terror, whether he would wake again, feel his heart beat steady, the mind flutter quiet, the taste of oxygen from the nose clip remembered in his throat, cold. After the heart is a lonely hunter in a New York City cineplex, when the gunshot suicide breaks open his tears, he tries to flee the theater, pushes open an exit door, a maze of fire escapes in an unlit alley. A woman pulls him back. Not that way, sir. This way, please. Into the mirrored corridors, he runs. A crowd comes towards him. He runs into himself, turns a corner, runs into himself again, trying to escape. Driving north to the border, her asleep, the sun rising through Adirondack mountain mist appears to set, the top half covered in clouds, blood red. He wants home, wants out. A border guard leans in, asks for ID, and suddenly there is nowhere to go. He does not care. How can we ever know when love is so close to hate? He will tell her when she wakes. It's over. He drives. Soul. When I imagine my soul, my eyes evaporate. There is only sound, a whisper so faint it is impossible, and breathing, a wind hush in a forest winter.
Wow, it's so hushed.
And this poem, I'm actually just wondering, I don't see it here. This poem arises at the birth of our first granddaughter, who was born on 4th Avenue in Vancouver in a 3-story walk-up. It's called Presence at Birth. On the stairs going up 3 flights to their flat, I say, we have to be quiet. Didn't know why. Then we are there, the other grandparents leaving, noisy, our turn to meet her. I sit in a chair, wait. Then she is in my arms, her not hours out of the womb, looking up, me looking down. Her eyes a deepest dark, eye to eye stillness we stay. Someone took a photo I still have, the vastness of her gaze, her newness, ancient. Jackie mentioned that I have a new chapbook coming out that Linda Crossfield is publishing for me, Nosen Book Publishing in the Interior. And I thought I'd read one poem. What I've done in the book is take fairly standard cliche statements and kind of disturb them, spun them into something else. So this is the last one I'm going to read for you. The cliche is read between the lines. So hence the title of the poem, Read Between the Lines. There may be in those spaces a glimpse of nothingness. If you look sideways just so at the right moment, what really matters is never there. Even in a poem, lines are wasted and emptiness holds the ineffable. There, maybe. We should circulate blank pages. A few horizontal lines may be all that is necessary. Thanks everyone for listening.
Thank you so very much. What thoughtful, lovely work. And that's quite a canon you have going. Quite impressive. Thank you so much. It is time for a tradition that we have here at Alberni Valley Words on Fire. And so don't put away your microphones yet, our 2 esteemed feature readers, because we like to grill you. No, actually, we just want to do a Q&A. There might be a few people that have got a question or 2 for you. So I'm going to open the floor. You can unmute yourself. You should be able to do that. If you have a question or a comment for Ian and for Daniel, this is a good opportunity for you to talk to them on behalf of us all. I will dive in there and I will say how fun, Ian, to have animal themed poems. That's very inspiring. How many is in that book?
Too many.
No.
Well, what happened is, for me, writing a book is just a way of organizing your material between 2 covers, other than having random scraps of paper everywhere and things in files that you've forgotten about. So I decided 2.5 years ago to put all my animal poems together, and I didn't realize I had that many. And because I was in the spirit, I kept writing them. And I guess, you know, there were previous drafts where I rejected probably 20, 25 poems that were originally in, but I probably wrote another 20 to replace them. So I was on a roll, but I didn't think I'd read any more poems about animals, but then I wrote that one about the Corvid virus. So I guess I'm still at it. So yeah, but I really do. I wanted to explore our relationship with the animal world, our own animal natures, animal sentience, and those are all issues that are very near and dear to me. And I wanted to just put them out there. And I also wanted to point out there's some heavier stuff in here. Like there's a whole section called humanity, and where I really point out of a lot of the things that we're doing that are jeopardizing not only the animal world and the natural world, but just the world in general. So I somehow got caught in that as well. So there you go. Did I answer your question?
Beautifully. Thank
Okay.
you. Daniel, how about you with your themes? Now you've got a couple of pieces that are books. I mean, books with whole themes that are sort of dark. When you're working on that, do you have to work to keep your mood up, or do you really get into it? I mean, how does that go?
Well, some of us just like the darkness. So it's interesting. In my when I was working on my master's degree, I was playing around with narrative and negative space, and one of my examiners said that she'd counted the number of the word "not" in my text. There was something like 360 times I'd used the word "not," and she was a painter, and she pointed out that when you're painting, it's best to stand in the shadow or in the dark so you can see what's going on in the light. And I think that's really where I write from. I stand in the dark to see what's going on in the light.
Well, that's lovely. Now we've got a comment here. I believe this is Margaret Lonsdale. It said, thoughtful, poignant, playful, timeless work. That's like 4 adjectives in a row. Daniel, your poems on the subject of aging remind me of Robert Graves and his poem written after gazing mornings into the mirror, noting in detail the changes, of which there were many.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm a very prolific writer. I mean, I have hundreds of poems. So then it's a question of editing and rewriting and trying to gather them together in a way that makes sense. So.
I think that's a challenge for all of us that aspire to poetry. Laura has said, what a great outlook, Daniel, standing in the dark to see the light. Love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think as a writer, and I think Ian embodies this as well, that you try not to turn away from what is dark or ugly. You try to really look at it and face it. And somehow in facing it and naming it, it transforms it in some way. It becomes lighter or and lighter in both a brighter sense, but also less heavy.
All right. Do we have any other questions?
I was going to say, it makes it sometimes by addressing it in a different form through humor or not, you also make it more palatable for people because they're seeing it at a distance.
Yeah.
And I guess that's part of what we try to do as well, is to give people that distance so they can have another look-see, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Very nice. Okay. Now we may have, is there anybody else you'd like to either raise your hand or just reach out and say something right now? Here's your last shot for now. But I will tell you that right at the very end, if you thought of another question, you can either indicate it in the chat or ask it just before we close. So anyway, we're gonna then thank these guys very much for now, and we will continue with our program. We're not gonna take a break. Ian, did you want to say something?
No, that was just deaf applause.
Oh, deaf applause.
Yeah. That's what it looks like.
Thank you. Okay, jazz hands. All right. All right.